Hello, hello. We are live. We'll give you all a minute to get in and get settled. Let you listen to a little bit of music. Get into the vibe, feel the vibe of this pep talk, this episode of Pep Talk, Productive Environment Podcast. All right, welcome. I see you guys coming in, getting settled. Wherever you're joining us from, do me a favor and send a message over in the chat or the comments, wherever you're joining in from. And if you're new here, we'd love for you to subscribe to our channel so you can find your way back to us again. And I would ask you to like the video, but you can wait till the end. Make sure you do like it before I ask you to like the video. So awesome. Hey, Carla in Connecticut. Awesome. Glad you are here, Miss Carla. She is one of our certified productive environment specialists. So if anybody's joining us from the northeastern part of the country, let me know. I'll hook you up with Carla. Awesome. Who else is joining us? Come on in. We're going to talk about some things today. I was just telling my team that I had found a webinar outline that Barbara and I had delivered to a company in 2012. So what is that, 14 years ago? And so it was interesting reading it, reviewing. It was about information, and it was to a company. So I repurposed it to today's time, and I'm going to share that with you guys in just a minute. Hey, Miss Kathy, New Path Productivity, also one of our certified productive environment specialists, and she is in the Chicago area. So welcome, Kathy. Glad you're here. And anybody else that's joining us, either live or you're watching on the replay, just let us know where you're joining in from. And I will jump right in. It is just me today. I don't have a guest and I don't have a co-host. So it's just me, and I've got a lot of good stuff to share with you though. So never fear. So let me go ahead and take that off and let's chat. So today we are talking about, brace yourself, too much information. What is it really costing you? And as I said, we talked about this with a company. And so the conversation was a little bit different because it was risks, risks to the company owner, risks to the employee, risks to management. But today we're talking about what it's costing you, risks to you as an individual. So too much information. What is it really costing you? Okay. So I am Andrea Anderson with Productive Environment Institute. I am in Carolina Beach, North Carolina, joining you. And, if you think back, I don't know if you can think this far back, but there was a time that we didn't have enough information. Like maybe we felt like we were worried about not being able to access information. I was just thinking about growing up when we would get those sample Encyclopedia Britannicas would come. They would send everybody this big thing of encyclopedias, and if you kept them, then you had to pay for them, but if you wanted to send them back, you could send them back. But anyway, that was our information at the time, right? Of course, there were newspapers. There was the nightly 6 p.m. news. I remember in elementary school and junior high just really loving the library, the school library. They had a media center later on, but we had books and we could go in there. That's where our information came from. Right? So today's challenge is a little bit different. Do you guys feel like you don't have access to enough information? Does anybody feel that way? Let me know. Let me know in the comments. So we actually have more information available to us than at any other point in human history. Okay, I think everybody would agree with that statement. And this comes in the form of email, paper, downloads. What does your downloads folder look like? Photos, videos, text messages, instant messages, cloud storage, AI generated content. That's something that's relatively new, right? So what are we doing with all that AI generated content? Okay. I mean, really, when we moved from the library and the Encyclopedia Britannica and those kinds of things, newspapers, all that, we moved into accessing, the web, right? Google. Just if you wanted information, you just Google it. Now you just pull up ChatGPT and you say, hey, look up such and such, look up flights, look up this information, look up this information. And then where does that go? I mean, where does that go? Think about if you're using ChatGPT, where is that or information organized? I don't know. So the question now isn't how do I get more information? The question is how do I decide? You guys have heard that word before you've been around us. How do I decide what deserves my attention? Okay. So today's episode is the first in a 3-part series. So today, what is too much information and what does it cost? Next week, we'll talk about the 6 questions that help you decide what to keep. And then we will also talk about the art. Well, we'll go further into detail on the art of wastebasketry on the 3rd week. How to let go of information that no longer serves you. Because we talk about this a lot in PEI that, you have to decide. You can keep anything that you want. Barbara says you can keep everything that you want as long as you're willing to pay the price. And that price is in time, space, money, and energy. Thank you, Eds. That's known as the cost factor. So we can keep anything that we want as long as we're willing to pay the price, time, space, money, and energy. Everything costs us something. And now with more and more information, you have to decide what is worth keeping, what is worthy of going into your to-do list, what's worthy of going into your inbox even before it gets on any list or in any file. What's worthy of that? What's worthy of your attention? So as I mentioned earlier, I recently came across notes from a webinar that Barbara and I had taught to a publishing company back in, I believe it was 2012. The document was not dated, but I believe it was 2012. And it was called Keeping Too Much Information, What Are Your Risks? And what struck me reading that, I was actually going through my own files this weekend, and that's how I found that document. And I had printed it. It was a physical document and stapled it and everything. And so I was reviewing it and I was like, wow. And so what struck me was that the problem has only become bigger than it was 14 years ago, which is going to be no surprise. So back then we were talking about pretty much email, paper, and electronic files, right? Email, paper, and electronic files 14 years ago. And as I mentioned, today we have all that, plus the AI conversations I mentioned, cloud drives, shared workspaces, text messages, videos, voice notes, and then your phone app notes, screenshots. I am the screenshot queen. Okay. So I have screenshots of everything, and digital photos and so much more. So I want you to, if you think about all that stuff, I want you to consider these statistics. Okay. So many of us spend hours each week looking for an email we were trying to find, or files or notes, passwords, documents, and information that we know we have somewhere, right? So we're looking, we're searching, we're looking, we're searching. And some studies estimate that we spend at least 25% of our time. Now, in an average normal work day, I don't know if anybody really works a normal work day anymore, but on a normal work day, that breaks out to about 2 hours a day, looking for information that we need. Okay, let's do the math on that. And my mom is in the green room. So mom, if I get the math wrong, let me know. But 2 hours a day. Now let's do 5 days a week. Okay, we won't go 7. We'll go 5 days. Looking for information. That's over 500 hours per year. We used to cite that statistic for many years, and it came up to, I think when we first started talking about it, was 150 hours per year. Then it went up to 250 hours per year. Now we're up to over 500 hours per year looking for information. Okay. So to put that all in perspective, that's over 12 40-hour work weeks. 12, that's 3 months. That's 3 months of our time wasted looking for information. And I have done it very recently with AI because I'm using ChatGPT and I'm using Claude, and I'm using Claude Chat and Claude Cowork. And so I will do something, search something, find something, start a project. A couple days will go by and I'll come back and want to revisit it. And I'm like, okay, was it in chat? Was it in Claude? Was it Claude Chat, or was it Claude Cowork? So I even have to okay, wait, I need to capture this information. And so now I've integrated that into my personal digital dashboard, which is what we call the SOAR board. So now I have a system for that, but I found myself right in the same situation. So, and now, another statistic for you is roughly 80 to 90% of business information is considered unstructured information. Let me think about that. So think about this when I say what these items are. Unstructured information, emails. How structured is your email system? PDFs. How many of us have PDFs? Just my little Apple pen. How many of us have PDFs in just random places on our computer, right? Documents, whether that's a computer document or a Google Doc or whatever. Images, a lot of images, a lot of screenshots, recordings, videos, notes, and messages. And now AI allows us to create information faster than ever. So let's put this in perspective too. The problem isn't that information is bad. I mean, it allows us to do things faster and do things that we've never imagined doing before. So it's amazing. But the problem is that information accumulates faster than we can make decisions. Okay. And when information accumulates faster than decisions, what forms out of that? Raise your hand. I wish I could see you guys. Raise your hand. What forms when we're not able to make decisions fast enough? Clutter, right? So, and if you know us at Productive Environment Institute, you know that Barbara Hemphill says clutter is postponed decisions. She's been saying that for 40 plus years. And now here we are at the time of this recording in 2026. And the problem we're facing now is that the number of decisions we need to make has multiplied exponentially. So guess what? If you didn't have postponed decisions before, you probably do now. And it doesn't mean that makes you a bad person or anything negative. It's just the truth. We have more information that leads to us needing to make more decisions than ever before. And some decisions need to be put off because they may not be the priority. Okay. So what does too much information look like? Many people don't think they even have an information problem. So let's test that. All right. I'm going to ask you guys some questions. So again, raise your hands. Who has thousands of emails in either one or more email accounts inbox? Now, I won't get you on the all mail in Gmail because that's like everything. But in your inbox, who has thousands of emails in your inbox? How about downloads that you'll probably never open again? Yeah, that's something I was before we started really getting into our digital systems. I really was that person that just let the downloads fill up. I never really paid attention to the downloads folder. Photos you'll never look at again on your computer somewhere. Articles that you plan to read someday. Now, I know some people have a physical to-read folder where you may have printed out articles or pulled them out of a magazine. You guys remember those magazines? And put them in a physical folder to read. And that folder often filled up quickly. And now with the digital version of, I'm going to keep this in my inbox, I'm going to read it eventually. Or you might even have a little label or a folder for it that says to read. And that fills up and you never get back to it. You can have the best of intentions, but you don't get back there. So has anybody experienced that? I'd love to hear from you in the chat. And how about, as I was just sharing what happened to me, is AI conversations that you meant to organize. So I do have a better system now, but I still do run into that if I'm just randomly pulling up and asking questions, getting back to that information later. I could organize that better. But for my projects and things like that, it's definitely gotten a lot better. But how many of you have AI conversations going on that you haven't addressed? Okay, and then maybe they're just sitting there, and then we've got, okay, all right, Nathan would love to have a conversation with you about your 230,000 emails. Okay, yeah, I mean and you're not really unusual in that. I think the record of the number of emails that I had with a client was over 400,000. So you're about a little over halfway there. So, so yeah, I mean, that it happens. That information piles up. Those are postponed decisions. There are some systems without having to go email by email by email, or even just sorting in the regular in your regular email platform. There are some third-party tools that can help you address all of those emails pretty quickly with confidence. And I say with confidence because there are tons of tools out there that promise to help you deal with your email, but you're leaving it up to AI to make decisions for you. The tool that we use and recommend, you get to make the decisions. It just puts them in a format that makes it easier for you to confidently make those decisions. So would love to share that tool with you. All right. So what about notes spread across notebooks, apps, sticky notes, documents? Yeah, Nathan says need that. All right. Get in touch with me, Nathan. Get in touch. Reach out. In fact, if you guys want to contact any of us at Productive Environment Institute, you can. Our website is productiveenvironment.com. And there's a contact button at the bottom of the website. And that there it is, productiveenvironment.com. You can click contact, and that comes directly to me. And a copy also goes to Eds, who's our, what is Eds? Eds is our executive assistant, the queen behind the scenes. So yeah, you can just send me a message there, Nathan. I'll be happy to talk to you about that. Okay. So if you do have these things, notes spread, notebooks, and I mean physical notebooks too, right? I do at least, if you're a physical person, I do at the very least recommend you get one notebook that you just date, you take notes on, and you keep going. And that way, at least everything's captured in one place, and that's a physical. So you might capture in lots of different ways. Physically, you might have a notes app on your phone. You might have index cards. You might have lots of different ways you capture. That's fine. But then you also need a place and a way to process that information. And that's where things break down if you don't have that. Okay. So as I said, if you said yes to any of those things, you're not alone. And the challenge isn't that these things exist. It's just that every single one of them represents a decision. And every unfinished decision consumes your attention. Okay. And, we talk about, and Barbara has shared this before, whether it's your email inbox or a box of paper, you really have two decisions to deal with that. It's either go through it item by item and make a decision about each thing, or toss the whole box, shred the whole box, delete the whole email inbox. So if that doesn't feel comfortable to you, that you can't imagine just tossing the box without looking, or shredding or deleting your entire inbox and declaring email bankruptcy. If that doesn't appeal to you and that terrifies you, then you will, the alternative is to go through each item almost one by one. Okay. Like I said, with the tool, with the email, we have a way to speed up that process. So, all right. So let's talk about what the hidden costs of too much information are. Okay. So how often have you spent 15 minutes even just looking for something that you saved? Okay. So that's a cost, is time. Maybe it was a receipt. You wanted to return something and you were like, oh, where did I put that receipt? Maybe it was an email. You got the email, you saw it, but now you can't find it. Oh my gosh, that happens all the time. A password. You created a new account and maybe you forgot to jot down the password, or you jotted it down in your notebook if you have the notebook, and you can't remember what page it was on and you're flipping through. Either way, it's costing you time. A proposal, right? Or a note from a meeting that you needed to write the proposal, information like that. So you're searching, and the search often, this is what's sad, the search often takes longer than the original task. That's the problem, right? We're searching, and then we just do the task. All right, so cost number one is time. Okay, cost number two is mental energy. I addressed this a little bit earlier. So every pile, every folder, every overflowing inbox, every unfinished project, and I'm going to say every computer tab that's open as well. They're all quietly asking, what are you going to do with me? They're there. They're asking all your emails, all your paper, everything. So what are you going to do with me? And you may not consciously hear the question, but your brain does. And those are considered open loops, and open loops can cost you. Open loops can be very costly, certainly of your energy. All right, so cost number 1 was time. Cost number 2, mental energy. Cost number 3, duplicate work. Okay, so how many times have you recreated something because you couldn't find it? So then you had to create it again. Written the same note again. Downloaded the same file. Guilty. Purchased something that you already own just because you couldn't find it. Okay, or created a new version because you couldn't locate the original. I don't know. Tell me in the chat, has that happened to you guys? That's definitely happened to me in the past. All right, then cost number 4 is missed opportunities. Okay, so sometimes the information we need is already available. We simply can't find it when we need it. And so we might miss an opportunity because we didn't access the information quickly enough because it was hidden. Okay. So cost number 5 is stress. And Barbara's quote that we call the Hemphill principle applies really to all of these costs. If you don't know you have it or you can't find it, it is of no value to you. Okay. If you don't know you have it, write this down. If you don't know you have it or you can't find it, it is of no value to you. And that is what we call Hemphill's principle. So information only becomes valuable when it can be used. Okay. Otherwise, it's just taking up space, attention, and energy. All right. So now let's talk about the shift. What has changed? What needs to change? Let's talk about that. So many people think that the answer is more storage. Oh, I'll just add more storage to my Google Drive or my Apple or whatever, or more filing cabinets with more folders, more apps. Oh, I just need to get this particular app because it's going to save everything. It's going to be the perfect thing, or more systems. Well, I've tried 10 systems in the past. Let me try number 11. That's going to be the one. So, we always think we need to try something else. But storage has become incredibly cheap, right? Back in the day, you used to have to pay quite a bit for additional storage. And now it's really, they've made it so everything's just cheap. They're like, hey, keep saving stuff here. Keep saving stuff here, especially in the cloud, because they want to keep you as a customer. So they make it really easy for you to continue adding stuff. So it would cost you a lot in time, space, money, and energy to transition away from them. If they can get you to put as much stuff as possible in their system, then they've got you as a customer. So storage has become incredibly cheap. However, your attention has become incredibly valuable. Okay. So the goal is not to keep everything. The goal is to keep what's useful. Okay. The goal is to know what you have, and the goal is to find it when you need it. Okay. The goal is to make decisions sooner instead of later. Okay. That's what we at Productive Environment Institute try to help you do. So, again, I'm gonna go back to the cost factor. You can keep anything that you want as long as you're willing to pay the price, and it's time, space, money, and energy. So if you decide to keep everything, all of your what you may or may not consider clutter, you decide to keep all of that, that's fine. That's not a moral issue. If you've got the time to deal with it, you've got the space for it, it's not costing you any money, and you've got the energy, you can keep it. But if anything is causing you angst, anxiety, costing you more time than it's worth, then we invite you to a solution that may work for you. Okay. So depending on when you are watching this episode, if you are watching this episode in mid or early to mid June of 2026, we want to invite you to a live workshop that we are doing on June 18th. Okay. Workshop.productiveenvironment.com. Now I'm saying that if you're watching in that time frame, that's a live workshop we have coming up. If you're not watching in that time frame, it's after that. still check out that site because there may be another live workshop coming up, or maybe even a workshop on demand. Okay, so you can still go and check that out. So our workshop is called Soar into Action, the Art of Organizing Information. And we use a lot of acronyms. So SOAR, write this down if you're taking notes. SOAR means systemize and organize with action and reference. Okay. And the art of organizing information, ART, is action, reference, toss. Okay. So that's something you can take away from this episode. Okay. If you've got a pile of paper or email in your inbox, you can start right now and start sorting that, what we call the first sort. Okay. And you can sort whether something is an action, which is a to-do or a task, put that in one pile. Or if it's something you just want to keep for future reference, put that in your reference pile. Or if you can go ahead and make the decision, you know what, I really don't need this. Let me just toss this. Then you can toss it. So that's the art of organizing information. In fact, I told you guys I found that document from the webinar that Barbara and I had done in 2012. And it was a printed physical copy of it. And so I took a I took a picture of each page of it in my iPhone. And then I uploaded it to ChatGPT and I said, redo this for today's time. And then I shredded the document. So I don't have to refile that document. It's gone now, but I have the screenshots of it. I have a new summary of it that I got through chat. So I was able to release the physical item. So action, reference, toss. It was a reference file and it became an action. I took action on it and then I was able to toss it. So anyway, but in the workshop, we will go beyond the awareness and into implementation, including our very own digital dashboard called the SOAR board. Again, it's a physical digital dashboard. And SOAR is systemized and organized with action and reference. And it's a digital tool that you will get in that workshop. And you'll learn how to make decisions about information using the ART framework, which again is action, reference, and toss. We will talk about paper. We will talk about email. We will talk about digital files, including AI tools. Okay. So, and you will leave with a practical process and the tool itself. You will have your very own SOAR board that you can begin using immediately. So because organizing is not about creating perfect systems, it's about making better decisions. So we will put the registration link. In fact, Ed, so if you'll put that back on the screen, workshop.productiveenvironment.com, check that out. And next week, we'll explore the 6 questions that make it dramatically easier to decide what information is actually worth keeping. Okay, so make sure you join us for the next pep talk as well. While I still have you, please like this video if you liked it and subscribe to our channel and reach out if you have a question or if there's a topic you'd like us to address. Again, you can just go to our main website, productiveenvironment.com, and click on contact, and that will come directly to me and to Ed's. Okay, so we are at the bottom of the hour. I'm going to let you guys go. Thank you so much for joining in, and we will see you on the next pep talk.